about building a math community. And like I said, you're going to hear of a treat from a kindergarten teacher, a third grade, and a fourth grade teacher leader all. And so when we think about that, and I've joined these teachers' classrooms, I'm so excited for you to hear from them because everything they do is founded in the math norms that we believe in. These are from Joe Bowler, and we've adopted them in JCPS. And over again, I think of what I heard Ms. Badwin was talking about, how everyone learns math at high levels and mistakes are valuable. And Ms. Bronner was talking about her journey through mathematics. And you're going to hear Ms. Bynum with her kindergartners, how kids know math's about creativity and making sense. So I am more than excited for that. You'll find these norms also on our curriculum frameworks. They're sandwiched right between the unit story and the essential questions and essential understandings. So you're going to hear a little bit about Neversense routines. This is just a clip from our elementary instructional framework. And I know all three of these ladies use these Neversense routines daily and utilize student thinking. And they're also going to talk a lot about math talk moves. And so if you think about a couple quick wins and where to start, they're going to have a lot of ideas. So I'm challenging you just to grab a piece of paper and a pencil, just to note a couple quick wins and build from there, because you're all doing such great things. And this is just a time to think of one more great thing to add to our repertoire of building our community. So with that, I'm turning it over to Ms. Bynum.
Hello, my name is Alyssa Bynum, and I'm a kindergarten teacher at Smyrna Elementary. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how I build a mathematical community in my classroom. I feel as though the foundation on which I am able to build community with my students is by setting expectations. Expectations are so important because when students have clear expectations, they are so much more engaged in their learning. I go over expectations consistently during lessons in order to reinforce the community which I'm trying to build. If I see many students off task, I will stop what we're doing and go over expectations with them. We often use the listening expectations that are displayed on the slide, and we do hand signals that go with them. Students are expected to repeat each one after me and do the motions to them. Eyes are watching, ears are listening, voice is quiet, body calm. Those are our listening expectations. Examples such as these and the hand motions that are shown encourages student participation in learning the classroom expectations. Finding ways to involve the students and make following expectations fun on a daily basis helps allow them to embrace the classroom community. Another way I'm able to build community with my students is by creating a positive environment. Positivity is my power. Children feed off your energy as the teacher. If you are being positive, they too will show positive energy. Even if you're having a bad day, you cannot let that take your positive power away. A huge way I'm able to show positivity with my students is through praise. This was definitely my saving grace my first year teaching in dealing with students who don't always follow directions. I will choose to praise and give attention to all students who are following directions and not call and single out the student who needs redirection. It is truly amazing to see how the children not following directions will immediately get back on task because they want your praise and attention. Children will do anything for your attention, so praise them rather than giving attention to children who are off task. Even a simple saying such as kiss your brain, which I love and I use all the time with my kindergarten students, is an easy way to praise students who are doing well, and it motivates them to work hard. Another way I'm able to build a positive class community is by helping struggling students feel valued. I always try to encourage students when they are answering questions rather than drawing negative attention to incorrect answers. I am able to do this by highlighting mistakes or wrong answers as learning opportunities. An example of this is when one of my students, his name was Aiden, and he kept incorrectly counting groups of objects on his screen. This was a great learning opportunity to review the different counting strategies that we had learned, so he could choose one of them to use to help him count successfully. I also encourage struggling students by scaffolding or changing my questioning to help students come to the correct answer without directly giving the answer to them. On the next slide, I am going to share how building community in my classroom involves allowing students to work together and sharing their thoughts and ideas with one another. In my classroom community, I love using reciprocal teaching and taking my students who are showing a good understanding of new concepts and having them explain the concepts to students who might be struggling. Students learn so much from one another, and I feel as though sometimes feedback from their peers comes across in a better way than feedback from me. This also helps build their confidence and reinforce their understanding of concepts. Yet another way I build community with my students is allowing them to discover and take responsibility for their learning. Student discovery is so important because it allows them to actively learn math and even take ownership of their learning. For example, our school was fortunate enough to have gotten each student a math kit, which is pictured on the slide. This kit included a lot of great manipulatives that allow students to actively discover and learn how math works, even while they're at home. One manipulative given to students were popsicle sticks. Students used these recently to work on making numbers in tally form and counting on from 5. This is shown on the screenshot at the bottom of the slide. You can see from this screenshot that my students are used to tilting their screens to show their work when they are using manipulatives during my live sessions. Another manipulative in their kit was the number rack. The student pictured in the top right corner of the slide was using his number rack to show numbers to 10 and then discussed how many red beads there are, how many white beads there are, and how many beads there are in all to help with decomposing numbers to 10. While in these examples, my students were given a math kit, it should be really easy for teachers to make adjustments to encourage student discovery and hands-on learning with common household items during both synchronous and asynchronous lessons. During my synchronous lessons, I recently had a student who did not have their math kit, and she ended up using straws to make her tally marks. We also recently did a shapes project, and students found different 2D and 3D shapes from around their home, and they were able to create a robot with those shapes. 2 students' robots are pictured on the slide, Langston and Jeremiah, and these students were then, or all students were asked to present their robots to their peers and share what 2D and 3D shapes they used to create their robot. So a very important part of student discovery is allowing students to justify and explain their thinking to one another. In the short clip from one of my live sessions that you're about to see, a student is explaining how she used her number rack to show what she saw on a 5-frame card.
I am not sure if we are getting to hear that actually, so let me go ahead. Do you want me to go and try to get it on there? But it is linked to that presentation. So if you...
It's linked if they want to go back and watch it. That's okay. So it's just easy to see in the video that her exploring with her number rack really helps her justify and explain her answer to her peers. And when students are able to justify and explain their thinking, it really helps them build confidence in themselves and reinforce their understanding. So overall, you can see how establishing a positive classroom community can have a valuable impact on the learning experience. When expectations are clear and engaging to the students, and you as the teacher embody positive energy to your students, it really allows you to create an environment in which students feel comfortable sharing with their peers and they can be successful in their learning. So now I'm going to pass it on to Elizabeth to tell you how she builds community in her classroom. Hi, my name is Liz Bronner. Thank you for having me here today. I'm a third grade teacher at Breckenridge-Franklin Elementary. So to start, to kind of give you an idea of how I've built a mathematical community, I want to take a look at this little girl in the picture wearing that awesome Mickey Mouse vest. Because not only do I think many of you will be able to relate to her experiences in math growing up, but also because her experiences are why I know that developing a math community is so important. You see, if you were to ask this little girl what she thought about math, she would tell you that she hates it, that she's not good at math at all. She might tell you about the tears that she shed trying to memorize the steps to the math problems her teachers gave her, or the anxiety of walking up to the chalkboard trying to compete to be the first one done. And my favorite is if you were to ask her why she solved a problem the way that she did, she would tell you that's just how her teacher told her to do it. These experiences that I had in math, starting in elementary school and lasting through high school and even into college, are what have inspired me to give my students the most positive experiences I can in the math classroom. And I believe that starts by building a positive mathematical community. I'd like to take a look at the hand signals that we use. The great thing about the hand signals is that it allows for thinking time. So that also challenges students to think of as many ways as possible that they can to solve a problem. So they don't just stop thinking after the first answer. I feel like the hand signals kind of avoid that you got to answer as fast as you can mentality, because the way that they work is that the students are holding up their hand when they are presented with a problem to show that they're thinking. They put up their thumb when they have an answer in one strategy, and then they show a finger for all the other strategies that they can to explain. So it keeps them thinking. We also use the I agree, and I'd like to build upon a classmate's answer. So this kind of leads me to my next point, which is that I believe that every student can do math. Just sometimes it requires some extra questioning and prompting to get them there. So sometimes I even find myself just waiting, which I know can be really hard, especially during NTI, but sometimes that's really all that it takes to get the students to realize that you're not giving up on them, and so they can't give up that easy either. Some examples of the questioning and prompting I use most often are, tell me more, how do you know, could you represent that with a drawing? Sometimes that's a good one, especially if a kid is stuck. They don't realize that they may be able to solve it by representing it with a drawing. Or I like to say, so what I hear you saying is, and that helps me, especially if a student is kind of confusing in the way that they're explaining something, and I can kind of help explain it to the class, in some different words that might be more clear. Not only does questioning and prompting help keep me from giving them the answer, which sometimes I slip and do, but it also allows the kids to keep thinking and ultimately teach each other different ways of thinking about the same problems. Because I know students learn differently, when I can, I like to provide them with some choice in how they're able to demonstrate their understanding. So students are encouraged to share different ideas and strategies. Towards the bottom of my slides, you can see some different examples of ways students may answer a question. So when I use Jamboard, so that's the one with the blue and the yellow sticky note, some students may choose to answer on a sticky note, or others may want to answer verbally, and then I'm able to annotate what they're saying or thinking. I also really love Nearpod because students can use numbers, drawings, and they can record their voice with an answer, which is one of my favorites. And I have attached an example of one of my students, Aiden, explaining why 3 times 5 equals 5 times 3.
I'm not sure if it worked or not. But really, I just like it because he's able to explain it in words, and he actually typed his answer that day. I've been really surprised at how many of mine will actually type their answer and record themselves explaining it. So it gives you a really good picture of what they're thinking. I feel like even as adults, we find ourselves in situations where we know what we want to say, we just can't get it down on paper or maybe put it into words. So providing students that choice gives them the ability to express themselves how they're most comfortable. On the next slide, I have listed the routines in my math class because I think that routines help build the community because students know what to expect. Having routines helps students feel more prepared and more confident. So every class we start with a Neversense routine, and I love these, and I think the kids really enjoy them too. They're great because they feel like they provide the students with an opportunity like for everyone to get a chance to share. I also really like them because with IM, which is the curriculum that we're using, they provide a great entry point into the activity for the day. So before we started using IM, I was using the Number Talk book for the beginnings of my lessons, which was great, but the Number Talk didn't always go with the daily lesson. With IM, it sets it up great. The Neversense routines lead right into the activity, which then prepares the students to complete the cool down, which is like the exit slip that the students do asynchronously in Google Classroom. We also have math deep dives on Fridays. So we have a deep dive day for reading and then a deep dive day for math. And this just means that on Fridays, we focus on math for the majority of our synchronous time. So this allows me to react to the students' needs based on how they've been doing during class and on those cool downs throughout the week. Fridays are great for breakout sessions in Google Meet. We're able to break off into pairs or groups based on what we're working on. And this allows me to focus even more on giving students what they need. So like, for example, I can have a group of students that have mastered a learning target working on a Jamboard together in a breakout room, and they can collaborate on like a word problem or some other type of extension activity. And then at the same time, I can have some students that may be struggling with a topic doing an online center activity or something that helps give them more practice. And then I can pop in and out of the rooms using questioning and prompting to keep them going and on topic. So I really love opportunities to do that because it makes me feel like I'm back in the classroom walking around and the students are, scattered around on the floor working on something. And I think they really enjoy it too. And then I just want to end by saying that I feel like building a mathematical community in the classroom has increased the students' confidence. I feel like there really isn't that divide like there was when I was in school, where you had the people who were math people and then the people who just weren't math people. And then at the bottom of my slide, I included a spot where it says growing the community. And those are the programs that I have used that I feel like have helped me grow my mathematical community while doing NTI. So that's all I have. Thank you. And on to Karima.
All right, hello, my name is Karima Badwin. I am a 4th grade teacher at Miners Lane Elementary. And I'm just gonna share a few of the things that I've been doing in my classroom to build a math community and a few things that I've done to improve student voice. So the first thing that you see is, the first thing I wanna tell you is that there are a lot of uncontrollable factors that come with NTI. We know this, everyone knows, but I had this discussion with my principal in AP not too long ago, and we talked about how we cannot control our students' learning environment. We can't control how loud it is. We can't control how many siblings might be working in one room. All we can really control is how we make them feel when they join us in the virtual space. So a few things that I've done is I have used the math interest survey that you see at the very top. And this is it's been really great because I was able to understand how my students saw themselves as mathematicians. So in small groups, we were able to answer some questions if they agreed or disagreed on certain topics. They were able to talk about math goals that they wanted, what were their strengths and weaknesses with math. And then one of the goals that a student made was that they wanted to improve as a writer when it comes to math. And so we were able to go into a deeper discussion on how they could actually do that, which was great. Another thing that I've done is I have norms set as to what I expect from my students in a meeting. And we are able to talk about these at the beginning of the year, and each one we have discussed what it looks like, what it sounds like, and what it feels like. And we realize now more than ever, it is very important to be very clear about your expectations. Otherwise, it is a hot mess. So we also talked about growth mindset with students. We began by helping students understand what it meant to have a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, and what are a few things that they can do to develop and improve. So now I celebrate students when they have shown a growth mindset or they are being a prepared and resilient learner with a shout out award. This really makes their day because they're able to see that I recognize their hard work. And so I don't know how much time we have, so we might not have time for the audio, but if you get a chance, click the audio, you'll be able to hear what it sounds like. And then another way you can build a community is through celebrating student discovery. So in that picture, you can see the rule was actually named after a student. So this was so special. This is really special to students in general because they are able to be emerging innovators. They are able to look at what we're discussing in class and creating something based on what they see. So this student in particular was very nervous and hesitant to share out her response. In fact, she was like calling on other students to answer for her. When she finally actually got the answer out, she was very excited. She did a little dance, told her dad, and came back, and I was like, you now have a rule named after you. And so it's something so small but can be so powerful for our kids. And in the next slide, I just shared a few ways that you can improve student voice. So I know we have heard a lot about Jamboard, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but it's just a really great way for students that might not be hesitant, they might be hesitant to share out, because even as adults, sometimes we don't want to share out our answers, but they feel safe enough to put a sticky note and share their answers. So you can use these through number talks or 3 reads, but you can use them for really anything. And then on the other side, you will see that I added Pear Deck and Nearpod, and I know Elizabeth talked a little bit about Nearpod. It's a really great engagement tool to get all your students involved rather than just a few voices being heard. It gives them a chance to participate. So the Nearpod that you see right there is a collaborative board where students were able to add their thoughts on there. And so we were doing a math PBL in class. Our students are working on designing a zoo, and my awesome teammate, shout out to Rachel Greenwell, but she was able to get a zookeeper from the Louisville Zoo to join us on a Google Meet, and they were actually able to ask her questions from there. So it was really a great experience for them. All right, and then the final slide, you will see how I use breakout rooms to be able to give my students a chance to really develop their thoughts prior to sharing out, and it also gives them that chance to be a productive collaborator. And so the pictures that you see there are from one of our breakout rooms. They all had a Jamboard, and the Jamboard is labeled with their breakout room, and so they are adding on to that Jamboard, and they are adding their ideas. And so as I pop in, I'm able to see the Jamboard, but even outside of that room, I'm still able to see what they're doing, which is a good strategy just to keep track of your kids. But we also have group roles, which is very helpful, I found. I do not assign the roles. I let my students choose them because some of them don't feel comfortable with every single thing with technology. And I found that it really helps to ensure that all of our students are doing something and they're participating in some type of way. And then the last thing is just to utilize the basic tools within Google Meet, letting your students share their screen, allowing them to do chat challenges with chat. So I've done it before where I tell my students, when I say the word waterfall, tell me everything you know about perimeter, and then they blow up the chat with that. And we also use these for praise. So I'll tell them, I'll pick one student, I'll say, when I say waterfall, list all the great compliments about this kid, and it like brightens their day. So, there's a lot of little small things that we can do that can make this experience a lot better for our students overall.
apologize for the video. These three ladies have such amazing work. And can we leave you? I'm going to try one more time to play this precious video and see if you can hear.
I painted 1 white and 4 red to make how many this is. There's only 1 white and 4 red.
And how many is all this, Olivia?
So there's how many all of it is?
Yeah, how many do we have in all? How many is 4 and 1?
5.
Yes, 4 and 1 make 5 in all. So in the middle, we have 5 in all. Olivia, kiss your brain. Excellent thinking.
Andrea, thank you for re-pushing that. How cute is that? She was precious.